So, the last video talked about how the overarching, most important principle and the thing that holds us back more than anything else is that what we do intuitively when we try to master alternate picking is almost always ineffective and destructive at best, right? And we also talked about a principle that would allow us to do the right thing, minimal movements, right? And surface picking. Those were the two things. But there's another thing that is really mundane, perhaps a little bit boring to say, and it's one of the things that people actually told me, right? Old people when I was practicing way back when I was 16, 17 years old, and that was to practice slowly. I thought that was the most advice ever, right? No, practice slowly so you can, be accurate and precise as you build your skills with, ease and comfort, right? I didn't like that advice, so I pushed for speed all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's its own strategy. And the meat in the whole thing, the flour in the cake should be that you program your mind and body. You should go away from the practice frame of mind to the programming frame of mind. And that is something completely different. How do you program your mind and body to do something robotic very accurately, very precise, and very easily? You program it by doing it right every single time. You make zero mistakes, right? Because every time you make a mistake, you program that into your mind, right? So if you make 1,000 mistakes when you practice for an hour, that's what you become good at, making mistakes, because that's what you've been doing a lot, right? So when we practice normally out in the world, we think about practicing football or practicing something else, which is a completely different thing. If you, the old analogy, the old example, if you try to put a ball through a hoop in basketball, then what you do is you try, right? You basically try and fail all the time. So you try, you fail, you try and fail. And that learning process is completely different from building alternate picking skills or any picking skills, because it has nothing to do with precision as such in the little minute details. So how that learning process looks is that you try and fail and try and fail and try and fail. When you then succeed by accident, right? The body goes, oh, how did I do that? What was that? How did that feel? How did I stand on my... It tries to immediately go back and say, how do I get that nice feeling of succeeding again? And that's how it learns, right? And then you fail, fail, fail. You succeed. And it tries to remember everything. That's why most people in sports that has to do a three throw or any other, a penalty kick in soccer, they have these rituals that they do just before they do the kick or the throw. Because that ritual puts them right in the right place mentally and physically to make that kick and just be, right? So that's why they do that. But you can't do that. Every time you hit the string, it's a perfect picking stroke, right? And it's very small and it's very accurate. But you can slow down time. We cannot slow down time when it comes to, kicking a ball or throwing a ball. You have gravity, right? Air resistance, stuff like that you cannot slow down. So you just have to try. Here, you can slow it all the way down and you can program perfect repetitions into your technique. Most people won't do that. 99% of the people who watches this video will not do that because they'll forget. Because we get caught by our own intuitive approach, which is almost always wrong or ineffective. So the brain says, because the brain is built for becoming good at soccer, stuff like that, brute force, throwing a spear, running fast, with your whole body, right? For this, not so much, but it uses the same stupid strategy, right? It works for other things, but it doesn't work for this. So what we need to be doing is make zero mistakes. Zero. I mean it. Why would you make a mistake when you don't have to, right? Because you're pushing for speed. And if you're pushing for speed, you're making a lot of mistakes in the process, which is what you then become good at, as we talked about. So what you need to be doing is to be zero mistakes all the way, right? Well, that's a violent sound to be, If you practice at that level, at that speed, you're not practicing, you're performing. When I practice anything technical, and I really do this, and this is easy for me now, because I've been around the block for so many times, for 40 years, right, of doing mistake after mistake. of spending thousands of hours of practicing only to see that they did not pay off, and then returning back to programming, which is right, limiting the challenge to something very simple and then programming over and over and over again. That's how you build an insane level of technique. And also the technique you have is then accurate and precise, right? It's not a sloppy something, you know, approximation of alternate picking or economy picking. It's actually the real thing, right? You're picking every single note, right? So if you can go and you can control yourself and your own intuitive approach to practicing, you know, where you have this, you know, I can barely do this. I can barely do this. Mistake. All right, it's it's a little bit too far. Right, you have to. As soon as you feel the uncertainty within your body, as soon as you feel that it's kind of like, I don't know if I can make the next pick stroke, you have to be 1000% sure that the next pick stroke is going to be perfect. That's the level to practice. So you practice at a level where you can get everything right. But it's not slower than that, right? Because you also want the repetitions, right? You just want to practice where you're relaxed and you can do everything right. Total relaxation, no tension anywhere, right? And you just go. That's how to, you know, doing this is what creates this. With accents and all of it, right? And that's not hard. It's not hard to build that kind of technique. The only thing that's hard is this, is your caveman brain or cavewoman brain, right? But you know, this is not hard. It's hard to hit a freaking hoop with a ball, right? You fail all the time. This, the smallest movement in the world, picking in the surface, right? So again, a counterintuitive piece of advice, and I did all of this wrong for a long time. I pushed for speed every time I could, and I got tense in my arm, and I tried to it must be doing something wrong, because I basically didn't get the fact that you have to put in 1,000,000 repetitions of an exercise, which is totally doable over a month, no problem. But because we're pushing for speed and we're trying to do it fast, like we're trying to do alternate picking, like we're trying to hit the hoop, like with effort, right? Then we're not programming the brain. We're being idiots, right? Really, it's an idiotic approach. We're being idiots because you're trying to program your brain to do something so delicate, so accurate, so fast, right? So robotic at the highest level, and then you try to force it. Are you crazy? It's idiotic. I'm sorry, I'm calling a spade here, because that's what it is. It's simply mammal brain monkey strategy. Try to apply to something as delicate as this. It doesn't make sense. And I promise you, every single player out there, I have people in the studio who's trying to play something and they can't play it, right? And they play and they take 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 and 11 and 20, and then I say, okay, here, hear me out now. I'm going to go drink a sip of water, and then you are going to practice this, but at 50% speed of what you can actually do. I don't want you to play at anywhere near your top speed. I want you to slow all the way down and then give me 50 repetitions. So 5 minutes goes by, and whatever the lick is, right? And then I come back, we hit record, boom. First time around. It works just in a matter of minutes, right? Because you're programming the brain instead of trying to push for speed. I promise you, if you'll do this for an entire day with something super simple and really listen to what I'm saying, pushing for speed means being 100% relaxed, 100% unchallenged, right? When you do your repetitions. And then at the end of the practice session, you can just see how fast you've become at your performance mode, where you're just trying to really play it, at your top level. And I promise you, you'll have an added sense of control, of relaxation, of confidence, and that's how it feels to make actual progress in your picking results. Sorry for not showing you anything fancy on the neck, but this is important and this is what works. So see you in the video tomorrow.